Hey, everyone, and welcome to Dash 101, the antidote to content creation chaos. My name is Rob, and I am a product evangelist at Dropbox. This is the kickoff for the Dash 101 series. But before we dive in, just a little bit of housekeeping. This session is being recorded, and we will share the replay afterwards, as well as any resources that we share with you today. We want this session to be interactive, so drop in the chat where you're joining us from. Let us know what you're thinking, and if you have questions, please remember to put them in the Q&A so that we can answer them live at the end of the session. A little bit about my background. I started at Dropbox in our customer success team about 10 years ago. From there, I moved into a technical architect role where I worked with some of the biggest design houses and entertainment companies in the world, working to transform their businesses, accelerate workflows, and helping them get the most out of Dropbox. In 2020, our CIO recruited me out of the customer success department to focus on Dropbox employees to help provide them with a best-in-class experience using our products. I got to work in product development, product design, and at the end of the day, I'm just a huge fan of Dropbox, of our products, and I love our company culture. And talking about company culture, I'd like to introduce you today to Otis Rubottom, who is joining us. He is our writing director on brand. Otis, want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Rob. I'm excited to be here to talk about Dash in this series. And my background spans a range of writing related roles over a pretty broad, landscape, really. I was a freelance journalist for many years. I've worked for creative agencies for a number of years as a writer and creative director. I worked in-house in some other industries as a lead writer. And then I've been at Dropbox for about 3.5 years, most of the time in this role where I lead writing from the brand team. So that means I touch a lot of the high profile surfaces and work we do around campaigns and other areas of brand communications. And I also lead our naming work for new products, as well as some other naming related stuff. So that's a pretty fun part of the world that I work in there. Yeah, and that's me.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. All right, roles for today. I'm going to go ahead and guide this conversation while Otis will provide real world experience and insight and share actual campaign stories he's led and worked on. It sounds like there's a lot of those to hear, so I'm looking forward to that. Today's session aims to address the creative pressures that we all face, regain momentum by cutting through tool fatigue. And honestly, these are tools that have made promises to make work easier, but they really haven't. So let's take a look at today's agenda. We're going to talk about creative chaos. We'll go into campaign breakdown and how real teams struggle with fragmented environments. We'll give you an intro to Dash, what it is, and how it solves the problem. We'll give you some real world results, improve focus, flow, output, and more. And then we're going to have Q&A where we'll take your questions live. So remember, please put those in the Q&A tool at the bottom. Ultimately, we want to walk away, or we want you to walk away with a clearer picture of why content feels so overwhelming today, and how to fix it. Real examples of how Dash is supporting creative work, and an opportunity to try Dash yourself and learn more about future sessions that we're hosting. So, why this series and why now? Honestly, it's because of tool sprawl. It is at an all-time high. Work is hectic, life is hectic, and we want to help. We're kicking this off as part of a new monthly series from Dropbox. Each session targets common marketing and creative pain points and how Dash can help. Future sessions are going to include version control chaos, scattered feedback, tool fatigue, which is personally a major issue for me, slow campaign execution, and more. The struggle is real, y'all, and we hear it from our stakeholders at Dropbox and our customers around the world all the time. Finding the right image, finding the right video file, finding the right audio file, it can be a real drag. There are folders everywhere. There's clouds on clouds on clouds. Collaborating across tools and keeping track of it all. Was that in Slack? Was that a comment in a doc? What version are we on? The final polish that you have to put for your stakeholders and customers, executives and clients. It doesn't come easy. And then, of course, there's saving and organizing your assets so that your team can find them the next time they need them. Honestly, Dash matters now because for most of us, we're working in Miro, we're working in docs on top of docs, in slides, in Slack, in Teams, in Zoom, that random tool that your client really wants you to use. Well, Dropbox Dash is actually going to connect all of those dots without forcing you to switch between tools or having to, remember where that asset is. So I think, with that in mind, creative chaos, we've all seen it before, and Otis is particularly well positioned to talk about that. Otis?
Yeah, so you've touched on, the core of it already, and I can just kind of keep building on that, right? So we creative and marketing professionals like know this all too well. It's the sea we swim in, right? We are at an all-time high of tools and apps and surfaces that are, designed to make our lives and work better. And arguably, we've never had better tools either from a functionality point of view and what they allow us to do and create. So that's great, right? I think there's a lot to celebrate there, but at the same time, there's a lot. And so one of the things that has happened that we're all really dealing with is this kind of fragmented landscape of our work screen, if you want to just put it into like straightforward real estate,
Totally.
right? Where we have lots of different places we have to keep track of. We've got assets that are in a particular drive, or you've got a brief that comes in somewhere that's saved. You have multiple places where feedback starts to happen, and you want to preserve the context. So you'll have, a comment in a document or a slide deck that then yields its own thread of interaction around that particular piece of feedback. You'll have a similar thing in Slack where you've got multiple channels, of course, and then sub threads. And then within those, you'll have dialogues and discussion around elements. And then you'll have final presentations where feedback is rooted in that. And then oftentimes that may be given in a presentation where someone has taken notes, or an AI tool via Zoom or another surface has transcribed that. So the proliferation is rapid and on multi-layered. And so meanwhile, our jobs remain the same, which is to like make sense of all that, distill it, and put it into action to make the work better and move it through feedback, move it through iterate to approval, right? But the result is that we spend more time on all of what I just mentioned than we do on the work itself. We have, you hear the phrase work about work, and that can mean a lot of different things, but it's a real challenge where our jobs ultimately are to focus on what we're really good at and make that work better. And, iteration, feedback, implementation, that's heart and soul part of it. But when you spend more time doing that than thinking about ideas and bringing those ideas to life, things are out of balance, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that like what you see is that like it's not, it's not that the team has a working problem or a process problem explicitly. It's that the landscape has evolved to a place where it's asking the human brain to do something that we know it's not great at, which is multitask. Like that's not about like there is no such thing as being good at multitasking. We've learned that, we've got science to back it up, and yet we still are forced to do it time and time again within our workspace. So we can talk a little bit about why Dash is going to help kind of solve that. I don't want to say that Dash is a panacea, right? But it is designed specifically to relieve these pain points and these tensions that we just spent time talking about.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about how campaigns suffer, right? For 2 years, I'll give you an example. For 2 years, I ran a product talk show at Dropbox for employees. And I had problems like, the stress of making a great show for 3,000 people, make it funny, make it interesting, make it engaging, make it. Scripts were in Dropbox paper. Some guests like to use Google Docs. Some people wanted to use slides. Others wanted to use PowerPoint. And we always got questions like, where's the shooting schedule? Which version of the script are we on? My producer and director were in Dublin. I'm in Austin. And I was always asking them questions like, where was that recording saved? I can't find it. Where did you put the final cut so I can review it? And, things came together. We made it happen, but it was a mess. At the beginning of season 1, my beard wasn't
Yeah.
white. But then like right before season 2 started, Dropbox Dash landed, and honestly, it was such a game changer for me. Dash was the antidote. It connected the dots, like all of our guests all of the sudden, and the other showrunners and executive stakeholders, like whoever, right? They could use whatever tool they wanted. If you wanted to use Dropbox Paper, no problem. You want to use Google Doc, that's fine. You want to put it in Miro and sketch things out, or PowerPoint or slides, like honestly, it just didn't matter because it was super easy to find whatever I needed
Yeah.
when I needed it, right? Like that, the picture of that orange race car, boom, Dash found the asset for me. I didn't even have to be specific. And I'm sure you can relate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think like just the very last thing you said before I talk a little bit about some projects was like making me think of, there's the one of the just the I don't know superpowers of Dash is that like Dash doesn't care what you called it. You don't
Yeah.
even have to remember what you called it, or maybe you didn't name it at all, and that's part of the challenge of finding the things. So that ability to search the way you think versus the way something was named, or the way you should have named it, or the way you think someone else should have named it, like that elevates that the product and its ability to get you to what you're looking for so much more quickly and with so much less challenge. And that's kind of like really that's kind of at the heart of it. There's a lot of things that Dash can do that we'll keep talking about here, but that search, that universal search, and that ability to not need to remember a file structure or a place, a surface where I think it was there but it wasn't there, like Dash doesn't care. Like it's going to find it as long as you give it just a little bit to go on, right? And so yeah, that antidote to creative chaos is a powerful idea. I mean, I think that's something I personally relate to and have had a number of experiences in my career. I can think easily of times when Dash would have like really made things better, but kind of can't dwell too far there. But here at Dropbox, one of the things that I mentioned that I work on is product naming, and interestingly, I was part of the team that led the naming for Dash, coming up with a name for it. So I'm pretty proud of that actually because I think it's
Yeah,
a good
that's
name.
cool.
Time will tell, obviously, and not everybody loves every name. There's some subjectivity there, but I loved working on that. I loved that process, and it's a process that's particularly suited to what Dash does well, right? It kind of checks all these naming, that is, checks all these boxes of needs where they kind of stack upon themselves and become or maybe they don't have the stack, they just start to intertwine and overlap, where you've got workflow process, production process, the classic dates and gates, timelines, reviews and approvals that are really fundamentally important to meeting your goal and your date, right? But then you have creative process, and creative process can look different for lots of things, right? But for naming, it has some interesting challenges because you have to triangulate around how you're going to come up with a name, whether it's descriptive or abstract. You're going to benchmark against best in class market examples of other people that you want to be considered in the same mindset with, or you're maybe directly competing with, who's doing that well. So you're triangulating a lot of different things. It also has to be memorable. It has to be short. There's a legal component. Is it ownable? Are you trying to buy a URL? So you can see the spreadsheet of requirements for what is ultimately like a single word or maybe a 2-word phrase starting to multiply. And then you layer in approvals, reviews, how those feedback rounds are going to affect your name set, and where you start really big and broad and just continually whittle down and whittle down and whittle down, and then ultimately have to open back up a bit because you get feedback to go in different directions. And so Dash lets that collection of data points, of information, of different surfaces, of different inputs, like become really easily accessible for the whole team. You can find who talked about what when instantly. And so that is where that's kind of what we're talking about, I think, when we say an antidote to creative chaos. Was that workflow for naming Dash or naming any product actually chaos? Maybe, not necessarily, but the landscape of multifaceted elements that you constantly have to balance and give weight to in order to keep moving things forward to your goal, like that's a very real thing. And that's where Dash kind of shines. And so, we had only just started with the product when we were naming it, right? So we didn't have it available at the level that we have now. And it's fun to think about that one in particular, like the name of the product itself. And like, man, if we had the product at its capability now, when we first started talking about how to talk about it and how to name it, it would have been really a fun kind of meta exercise. But looking back on it, it's easy for me to talk about the things I just mentioned and how it can serve those roles. And we can talk more about some real world actual things now versus something in the past, but that's for me like stands out as a really great example of its capabilities and how it can sit at that intersection point.
Yeah, no, I love it. And, besides all of the amazing stuff you just said, the thing with Dash is it's not about changing your workflow, right? It just kind of powers your existing workflows. So it helps you cut down on all
Yeah.
that mental overhead that you have so you can focus on what matters, which is like creating really cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the ways we talk about it internally is that think about how we want to talk about it to the world is like we're not trying to get you to work differently. We're not trying to get you to adopt a new way of working or try to sell you a tool that says we're gonna, you're gonna work in a new way now because your old way's broken. We're saying the landscape is challenging. Some of the ways that work is happening now are kind of broken, and it's not because anyone's doing it wrong. It's because we're at the mercy, to a certain degree, right, of the evolution of tools in the space around us. And what Dash can do is help you work the way that's best for you, and cut through some of those extra steps and the real time consumption and time suck and the tool fatigue that you mentioned, in order to spend less time on the stuff that really is just getting you to the work that matters and more time on the work that matters.
Yeah. I mean, at the heart of it for me, it's like, instead of searching for links, Dash just pulls them together for me, like in stacks or in search. And, instead of asking who owns this, which is like one of my least favorite questions to ask, Dash just
Yeah.
clarifies that for me. It's like right there. It's so easy. And instead of like, duplicating feedback, which that happened so much here before, Dash, keeps all of that context centralized. So it's just really great.
Yeah, that
Um,
ability to see, what's already been discussed and decisions that have been made. I mean, that sounds obvious, right? You're like, of course we should know who made a key decision about things, or it should be easy to find. And we all know that's not always the case, sometimes, but not always. So cutting that out of like, I need to know whether this was approved and by whom and when, I need to see the context and the feedback itself, like having that be able to be surfaced without, trying to jump through mental hoops of figuring out where to find it is a massive relief on the cognitive load, and also on the time available to you to focus.
for sure. So, so I think we have a video here that we want to show, and this is really cool. So, can we go ahead and play that?
There is no off season. They need to be better than the competition.
It's fast-paced, pressure.
We run 24/7, constantly improving. Dropbox plays a very pivotal role in kind of increasing your bandwidth. The race is on.
I love that.
Yeah, it's fun to see that stuff, and it's been a real treat to work with McLaren. So we're 2 years into our partner, or in the second year of our partnership with McLaren now as an actual technical partner, and so they're using Dropbox Dash within the team. And it's, they're a great example of what, maybe you would call a super user. Right? It's a big team, not just the race team, but just the whole organizational team behind it, right? And they crunch massive numbers all the time. The Formula One is inherently focused on, what in my background in bike racing sport was referred to as marginal gains, right? You're constantly looking for that fraction of a second, in different places and in different ways to squeeze it out. And so is everybody else, right? So you're really trying to figure out how to maximize your efficiency. And that's on the track, right? Behind the scenes, you're doing the same thing. You're trying to figure out, how do we work better? How do we spend less time on things that are not meaningful and more time on the progress and the improvement that we really need to achieve? So on any given race weekend, for example, the McLaren marketing teams are doing a similar thing, and they're one of the people who are our new evangelists for how Dash is really transforming the way they work and really delivering for them. They're bringing in tons of assets across a huge team and triangulating a ton of data. For them, for the marketing team says, what that really means is they're trying to figure out how to create the content for fans that the fans are gonna love. Like, they've got really dedicated fan base. They're really engaged with them. They're super, they like, oh, right here.
Yeah.
And I'm a neophyte.
Addicted,
I'm a neophyte F1 fan, but I've been around since before we started sponsoring them. So at least not that new to the game, but newer than some, but really enjoy it my own self and have really loved being able to have this kind of front row seat. But they're creating content for various channels, whether that's social or for their own partners or for their own assets and needs, right? And then like figuring out how to turn all of that content that's coming in, information, visuals, audio, into, polished, camera ready, real world ready, social channel ready, partnership relationship ready assets and content. And they're doing it, over the course of a 3-day race weekend or 4-day race weekend. That's just nonstop. Like, it's amazing to me that they can sleep. But
It's insane.
this
Yeah,
is
it's wild. I mean, like, with Oscar and Lando both winning, it's like, they have to turn around on a dime and, pulling that data together. I can't imagine the pace that they're working at.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting note too, is like, you've got a new set of challenges when you're winning all the time. It's a good one. You want that. Like, it's
Yeah,
harder.
yeah.
It's harder if you're constantly chasing and feeling like you're not getting what you need. But like at the front of the race, at the front of this challenge for the world championship and for the constructors, like, same thing, but the pressure is even more on, right? You can't slip up. And then you also got two winners that you're trying to support and create. They've got their own fans, each one of them. It's not a one versus the other, but some people love Lando, some people love Oscar. They really, and they've got their own personality. So figuring out how to support that, Dash is kind of it's not a shortcut. It's a superpower for them to be like, we need to make all these things. How can we find the parts we need to put together the way that we want them to come together?
Yeah.
Which is a good segue here into like what Dash literally does. So can highlight some of this stuff for folks so that they're getting a hit on it. And and Rob can continue to build on this. So at the heart of it all, right, is universal search. And what we mean by that is kind of what we've been mentioning up to now, right, is find anything, no matter where it is, no matter what you called it. And there's a little bit of a subline there, which is like, Dash works across all of the apps and tools that you connect to it, of which we have support and a huge amount, including most of the core ones that you'd be using daily, especially in marketing creative. So that's where you just have that ability, like, I can put in like Lando cheering crowd, and I'm going to instantly get what I need, versus like, I can't remember what race weekend it was. I can't remember, where was it, Dubai? Was it Singapore? Like, you can get what you need without remembering those specifics. And that's true across a whole range of file types too, which is also the real driver, right? You're talking about not just folders and files, but you're talking about video, images, audio. And that multimedia search component is really what's starting to unlock the new capabilities for folks who are using it. Because maybe before Dash there was, you could find files better than maybe a few years ago with other things, but now that's supercharged, and then adding in this range of media types that you can get that you can serve up in your search, like, that's huge, right?
Yeah.
Stacks, which is the organizational component, which is really like one of the like things that just shines for Dash users, and even for Drew, our CEO, like, that's what he loves about it. And that name kind of comes from this idea of like a curated playlist kind of thing. So it's not just like a smart folder that's going to pull things of a certain type, right? It's that and even more, right? It's allowing you to do the same thing that I was just mentioning, which is multiple different kinds of file types, also across surfaces. You don't need to move them, right? It's going to keep them in a stack, even though they live in slides or in Slack or in a vision board or in a paper doc or a Google Doc. Like, they don't need to move, but you can access them from one place. And that is a real game changer, that ability to build multiple stacks for different projects, different spaces, different kinds of work, have them index all the things that are related to that particular organizational keyword or topic or project, but you don't have to go find them. You don't have to go pull them. You don't have to make duplicates, right? It's just all there. And the more you use them, the better they get. You can share them easily to team members. You can share them to agency partners. And then you can specify the security around some of that stuff as well, because if you're concerned with things that are going external to the agency, or even within external to the organization, to agency partners, and as well as internally with different team members or different sensitive information based on what people need to see. And so that level of security it's an admin level feature, right? But the admin ability to see instantly, control specificity at a really micro level of personalization at a glance is massive. The protect and control feature really unlocks that high level admin, power user ability to ensure that no matter where it is and who's seeing it, it's the right people that are doing that.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm one of the like primary team admins for Dropbox at Dropbox, and protect and control has been incredible for us. I mean, it's unlocked insights into our SaaS and sharing platforms, our various FSS platforms that we use that we've never had before, and we've had all kinds of different tools over the years. And it was just incredible the first time they turned it on for us, and we got to see what our environment really looked like. It was eye opening. It was really cool, and
Yeah, and
it was also
I've
really easy to understand.
Yeah, and I've sat in early research sessions where high level users like that, like yourself, like admin level users across um, industries that are very security sensitive, particularly finance and some other areas, like where we got input from the admins about how this would work for them and what they were seeing, what they were liking, and so much positive feedback direct from people of just like, wow, this is amazing. This makes this level of control is really aligned for what we need, and kind
Yeah,
of serves what we're trying to do.
yeah. I mean, like my fellow admins, like we all love it. It's really cool. All right, y'all. So we've been talking at you for a bit. So I want to recap the three big takeaways that we really want you to walk away with today. Is Dash restores creative momentum by reducing tool friction. Like we talked a lot about that. It brings alignment and visibility to content work. I mean, it really does. Like we're not just paying lip service to it. It's pretty amazing, and it helps teams stay in flow without having to adapt to existing workflows, which for me was a big deal. We had a workflow. Like I had a workflow and I didn't have to change what I was doing. It helped me accelerate because it was just that layer on top of the work I was already doing. So we've got some resources for you today. So check out these different QR codes. The first one, you can read more about Dash and the McLaren F1 story. It's really cool. I definitely recommend checking that out. You can learn more about Dash and how it fits into your day to day. And it's an opportunity for you to also try it. And then please register for our upcoming August event, Dash 101. Stop wasting time asking where that file is. That's like my biggest pet peeve, is having to ask, like, where did that file go? Yeah. And yeah, remember, Dash it's just amazing. It just knows what I need when I need it. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and jump into questions. This is actually my favorite part of the webinar. So thank you to everyone who submitted a question today. All right, y'all. So the first question that came in, does Dash need permissions to access and integrate with tools outside of Dropbox? Are there any limits? So absolutely, there are limits. Dash, by default, doesn't have access to anything unless you grant it access. So for example, if you connected it to your team's Dropbox, you would be able to search only the content that you already have access to. You can't bypass permissions. The same is true for Google Drive or other cloud services. And Dash also comes with additional features like protect and control, which we will get into in future sessions. This is one of the most amazing SaaS security tools I have ever seen and used, and it's part of Dash. So definitely make sure you register for future events where we're going to go deeper on those features. Another question that came in was, is Dash HIPAA compliant? And the answer is yes. You can check out the Dash website and find out more about all of the different Dash certifications, including HIPAA. We've got another question about cost. Dash is not included in Dropbox Enterprise, but you don't also have to use Dropbox FSS or File Sync and Share to use Dash. So if your business runs on Google, for example, you can use Dash and connect it to Google Drive, your Gmail, your calendar. It's really incredible, but it does work really, really well with Dropbox as well. I think we have time for one more question that came in. Is
Yeah, I
Dash
saw
meant
there
to
was a.
replace?
Oh,
Sorry, go
sorry.
ahead.
Oh,
Oh yeah, no, sorry, yeah.
I was just gonna take the load off your question is for a hot second, but yeah, the question was around is Dash meant to replace project management tools or more so kind of sit alongside them? I think it's definitely not meant to replace core project management tools like Asana or Airtable or other things that are rooted in that sort of production process and project management oversight. I think really it does allow you to leverage Dash's capabilities and make that tool ideally like serve your needs even better, right? You're finding what you need, you're able to correlate things, you're able to share them to the team, you're able to control permissions if that's appropriate or necessary for a given project. But yeah, so no, it's not really, its primary goal is not as a project management tool, but more as a support system and a real supercharging element to the tools you already use, and an ability to spend less time moving between them and jumping around and trying to figure out where things are or get to them.
All right, y'all, we are out of time, but any of the questions that came in that were unanswered, we are going to answer them via email follow-up. And we want to thank you for joining us today. Be sure to register for our August 20th event. It's going to be great. Dash 101, stop wasting time asking where files are. We're going to go deeper into the product. And as these series evolve, we're going to go deeper and deeper. There will be demos. We will get hands-on with the product and show it off to you. So check your inbox for follow-ups. And before you go, please take our quick survey. Tell us how we did, just so that we know how we can get better in the future. All right. Thanks again, and stay curious.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Rob.